Before the brand deals, before the stadiums, before the name became untouchable, there was a man who woke up every day already angry, not at the world, but at himself. Marshall Mathers didn't grow up with a safety net. He grew up with instability so constant it felt normal, moving city to city, schools that never became familiar, a home that never felt permanent. He learned early that belonging was conditional, that weakness invited ridicule, that silence could get you erased. So he learned to speak loudly, with words sharp enough to defend him before anyone could strike first. Rap wasn't a dream at first. It was armor. Battle after battle, stage after stage, he stood in rooms where he was told he didn't belong. White kid in a black art form. Poor, awkward, easy target. So he sharpened his language into a weapon. But weapons cut both ways. As fame arrived, it didn't calm him. It accelerated everything already broken. Pressure multiplied. Expectations hardened. Privacy vanished. And the anger that once powered creativity began eating him alive. Drugs didn't arrive as rebellion. They arrived as relief, something to slow the noise, something to quiet the self-loathing, something to sleep without the mind replaying every failure on a loop. What started as coping turned into dependence. What turned into dependence became routine, and routine became a cage. The industry didn't stop him. It benefited from him. Deadlines kept coming, tours kept booking, applause kept masking collapse. Behind the scenes, his body was failing. His mind was fogged, his focus fractured. He missed moments he could never get back. Relationships decayed, trust evaporated, and still the machine demanded output. Then one day the body finally said no, an overdose, nearly fatal. A line crossed that doesn't allow denial afterward. He survived not because he was ready to live, but because death didn't take him. Recovery didn't feel heroic, it felt humiliating. Learning how to exist without numbing, facing the raw anger without anesthesia, realizing that the rage he used as fuel had no brakes. And here's the truth few people admit. Anger doesn't disappear when you get clean. It gets louder, because now there's nothing between you and it. That was the crossroads. Either let the anger destroy him or learn how to aim it. Not outward, not recklessly, but deliberately. This is where Eminem's story actually begins. Not with success, not with talent, but with a man sitting alone, forced to decide whether rage would remain poison or finally become purpose. Getting clean didn't make Eminem peaceful, it made him exposed. Sobriety stripped away the excuses. No haze, no delay, no chemical buffer between thought and feeling. Every insecurity came back sharper. Every doubt spoke louder. Every memory he had tried to bury knocked without mercy. And the industry watched closely. People weren't rooting for recovery. They were betting on relapse. Because a broken Eminem was profitable. A stable one was untested. He had to relearn how to write. Not technically, emotionally. For years, anger had poured out automatically. Now he had to choose where it went. He noticed something uncomfortable. When he wrote only to attack, the verses felt empty. When he wrote only to prove something, the hunger never stopped. So he changed the target. Instead of fighting everyone else, he turned the blade inward. He dissected his own failures, his addictions, his hypocrisies, his fear of becoming irrelevant. That honesty scared people. Fans didn't expect accountability. Critics didn't expect restraint, but restraint was the discipline he never had. He rebuilt his life the same way he rebuilt his craft. Repetition, structure, obsession. Running miles to exhaust the mind, writing daily to sharpen focus, cutting off relationships that fed chaos instead of growth. And here's what most people miss. Control didn't make him softer. It made him more dangerous. Because now the anger had direction. Albums became confessions instead of explosions. Lyrics carried weight instead of shock alone. Technique evolved because the mind was finally present. He stopped chasing relevance. He stopped responding to every insult. Silence became a weapon too. When critics dismissed him as outdated, he answered with precision, not tantrums. When the culture shifted, he didn't beg for acceptance. He adapted without apologizing for who he was. That's how the brand formed, not from marketing, but from consistency. Discipline replaced self-destruction. Longevity replaced chaos. Respect replaced spectacle. Owning a brand didn't mean selling an image, it meant protecting a process. Eminem understood something most artists learn too late. Talent opens the door. Habits decide how long you stay inside. And anger, when aimed correctly, isn't violence. It's energy with purpose. He didn't lose the rage. He trained it. and that training saved his life. Longevity was never supposed to be part of Eminem's story, at least not the way people predicted it. The industry likes fast burns, rise loud, crash harder, get remembered as a cautionary tale. That script was already written for him, but survival forced a rewrite. As the years passed, Eminem became something rare, an artist who outlived the version of himself the world preferred. He wasn't the reckless headline anymore. He wasn't the punchline. He wasn't the monster parents warned about on TV. And that confused people, because growth doesn't look entertaining at first glance. Discipline doesn't trend. Consistency doesn't shock. So the noise shifted. He's lost it. He's too serious. He's angry for no reason. But the truth was simpler. He was angry with reason now. Every verse became controlled aggression. Every bar carried intention. Every project felt like a refusal to fade quietly. He stopped explaining himself. Stopped chasing approval from a culture that moves on every season. Stopped trying to be liked. Instead, he became precise. Technically sharper than artists half his age. Mentally tougher than critics who underestimated him. Emotionally honest without begging for sympathy. That's how the brand solidified. Not sneakers. Not fragrances. Not slogans. A reputation. If Eminem released something, people listened, even if they planned to hate it. That is power earned, not marketed. Behind the scenes, he guarded his routine fiercely. Sleep, training, writing. Not because it was glamorous, but because he knew exactly what chaos cost him. He spoke less, observed more, and when he did speak, it landed heavier because it wasn't constant. The anger that once threatened to kill him became a boundary, a reminder of where he'd been and what he refused to return to. That's the part few understand. Anger doesn't disappear when you mature. It changes function. It stops burning everything. It starts protecting something. For Eminem, it protected sobriety, focus, self-respect. He didn't become peaceful. He became stable. And stability, for someone who almost died from excess, is a victory louder than any chart position. This wasn't redemption packaged for comfort. It was survival built through discipline. And discipline, when born from pain, becomes unbreakable. Most people think winning looks like peace, a calm smile, a quiet life, no more fighting. But that was never Eminem's ending, because some people don't survive by letting go of anger. They survive by mastering it. The anger never left him. It just stopped controlling him. It became a tool, a line he wouldn't cross again, a memory that kept him sharp, a voice that said, never go back. That's why he didn't soften with age. He refined. While others chased relevance, he built inevitability. You don't have to like Eminem. You don't have to agree with him. You don't even have to play his music. But you can't erase him, because brands built on hype disappear. Brands built on pain endure. He turned addiction into discipline, humiliation into precision, near death into structure. Not to be forgiven, not to be understood, but to stay standing. And that's the lesson most people miss. Anger is dangerous when it drives the car, but when it sits in the passenger seat, quiet, alert, watching the road, it can keep you alive. Eminem didn't use anger to destroy the world. He used it to protect what he built: sobriety, craft, identity. That's why even now his name still carries weight, not because he's loud, but because he survived something that kills most people quietly.